Hi, this is Daniel McAdam, reporter for Gambling Compliance. Earlier this month, the UK's Advertising Standards Authority extended its remit over gambling companies who advertise on their own websites and also on social networking sites. What are the latest changes at the ASA that gambling advertisers should be aware of?
The latest changes to the codes result from the code review that CAP and BCAP conducted over the last 2.5 years, and that saw a comprehensive overhaul and review of the rules for all sectors in non-broadcast and broadcast advertising. Now, the gambling rules were introduced in 2007 when the code review was just about to launch. With that in mind, and because those rules had been introduced after a thorough period of consultation and review to meet the objectives in the Gambling Act, we didn't feel it was timely to introduce radical change during the code review to the rules for gambling. Really, as a result of the code review, the two major changes are to do with lotteries. So the National Lottery is now addressed by specific gambling rules in the way that other gambling sector advertisers are used to already. And the other change is sort of ancillary to gambling, I guess, in that betting tipsters can now advertise on television and radio. Beyond that, the major policy development, of course, is the extension of CAP's digital remit, due to take place in March next year.
So what particular issues and challenges does this digital remit expansion and extension pose on gambling advertisers? Because now it's on their own websites and more of the marketing communications on their social networking sites as well. So what challenges is that going to pose?
The challenges will mostly be at the margins. I think for marketers and for the ASA, mostly I think it should be fairly self-evident. Perhaps more so than people have taken for granted when we made the announcement, because essentially all we're doing is rolling out the same rules as apply to non-broadcast advertising to a new area, a new medium.
What if a gambling site is licensed in Gibraltar or Malta?
We are going to have to basically keep a watching brief. We're going to have to talk to the Gambling Commissioner if we see anything arising, any problems arising with those websites. As I say, in the main, I think we've found the gambling industry to be highly compliant. So I'm sceptical that we're going to have much of an issue in those terms. But obviously where the ASA doesn't have a body to refer complaints to, then we will have to review on a case-by-case basis what we do.
Okay. And you mentioned that the gambling industry generally is relatively compliant. Has that changed over the years? Is it becoming better, worse? What do you think?
In terms of gambling compliance with the rules, I don't think we've seen a change. We haven't done a sector compliance survey recently, so I'd be going on complaints data alone, but on the basis of complaints, I don't think there's been any upturn or any suggestion that high level of compliance has ceased.
Okay, so they're not pushing the boundaries, but what are the most common code breaches when they do happen, and how can they be avoided?
To be honest, the level of complaint is so low that it's actually difficult for us to give a trend in complaints or in problems, because of course only a minority of complaints actually result in an upheld adjudication. So within the minority of the minority, I don't really think there's a detectable trend. We've had a variety of issues to deal with, to do with misleading terms and conditions, comparative advertising, and a sprinkling from among the social responsibility rules have been touched upon in individual adjudications, but not enough to really tell you a trend.
Okay, and how can a company avoid those misleading adverts or the sprinkling of social responsibility breaches?
The best way to avoid coming into contact with the ASA, as it were, is to use all the facilities that CAP already provides for advertisers in general to comply with the rules. We have CAP services, which encompasses a sort of range of available guidance and bespoke advice services to help advertisers comply. Those are freely available to anyone in industry who wants to take advantage of them. So that would be my number one suggestion for how to comply with the regime.